Elliot Rodger snapped along with many other boys that have snapped lately, and it hits boys much more frequently than it hits girls or women. That has to do with the testosterone and with that warrior gene or whatever, that is dominant in men, it is latent in women. And there's actually a gene discovered that creates the tendency to snappy, violent behavior in that way. But it's like, again, there's the determinism. They can't really help that. It is in their genes, and that's how they are, and they need to do a lot of work on themselves to steer against it, to counteract it, to balance it out, basically. And that's why I'm making videos in general, because I'm trying to get, even if I only have one viewer, if just one person watches each video, and it's usually different people, but my number doesn't go higher than 5 usually, but that's okay, because even if just one person gets something out of it, or gets some idea out of it, some new track of thought, then that will be very much worth it. I personally wake up giving lectures. This is not a joke. I wake up in the morning. I kind of don't like this at all. It's not like other people, they wake up and they want to make a laugh. I wake up lecturing. Okay, so let's make the best out of it. So that's why I didn't even eat breakfast yet. I had to take my Fisher-Price camera into my hand. Doot, 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 on. If I can just make this somewhat interesting, what's just haunting me in my brain every single day. And I've been writing on a book for over 12 years. It started in LA when we were living there, and I got my first computer there. I actually started the book before I had my first computer. I started to write it down in notebooks. And the book was called Betty 2. I changed the title a couple of times in the course. It's called News from Betty now. I thought that fits better. It is a hitchhiker onto another book that was written in the 70s about me as a child. It was a 2-year-long Freudian analytical therapy that I was going through twice a week with Annalise, and she wrote it down. And Annalise, she's just a brilliant writer. She just doesn't have all of these awkwardness feelings that I have when I write. She just writes, she's like completely in a flow. And out of this comes this real fresh, honest view on things. And so that's why the book is still on the market today in Germany. It's even put into schools as mandatory school literature for clinical psychology. And I even have talked to a couple of those students. And people have asked her how I was doing. And I'm old now and much wiser. And that's why, and I have so many thoughts on not just on my own therapy process, but on all the other therapies that I have done since then, crazy shit stuff, and nervous breakdowns, suicide attempts, you name it. So it's just the whole enchilada, I have the whole story, I had to write it down. I had to start writing it down, and I kept writing every year. And then I had phases where I didn't want to touch the book, where I felt like it's just going to be worthless. It's not going to amount to anything. Nobody's going to listen. No publisher is going to touch that. They're going to think I'm just crazy. But I did it anyway. I went back to it again and again and again. Then it was dormant. Before Elliot Rodger case. It was dormant for at least maybe 2 years. And every time I looked into it, I went like, ugh, forget it. I have a severe irritation with people who have to be arrogant. I just can't take it. It is pride, arrogance, and then these particular people, they wonder why the amazing atheist is more popular. I tell you why he's more popular. Because he's real, he is who he is, he doesn't claim to be perfect, he actually says he's learning all the time, he is not even seeing things the way he used to see things, so because he hadn't even really studied the subject, so therefore in the past he said a couple of unknowledgeable things, and later on he will say, yeah, that was bullshit, I have learned since then, I have listened. And he is somebody who listens to people. He listens to his fans. He listens to the comments. He listens to people's advices. He thinks about it. He thinks that's through. He doesn't think like, I am too good for these fans. They got nothing to say to me. No. He doesn't think that way. 11-year-old teenage fan makes for him. He watches and he makes video compilations of these different faces, these different cuties, and he answers their questions, and he gets into the depths, and he shares whatever is on his mind. He even shares very personal things, which I think is wonderful. It is wonderful to do. I always hear my husband or other people, don't say this on the internet. What are you're just asking for it, Shit, no. If everybody was more honest about themselves on the internet or in books they write, for example, like Elliot Rodger. Elliot Rodger, he wrote a manuscript about his life. I forgot the title now. Something like about his twisted life or something. And I watched videos where they were talking about some of the passages in this manuscript. And I thought, wow, what an incredibly honest person. He's honest to the very core. He is embarrassingly honest. And yeah. It hits us like, ooh, why would he say something like this? Most of us have very similar feelings like he had. Or in that manner, where similar feelings like we want to, fit in, we want to be liked, we want to get more views and stuff like this. I'm not talking about the type of hatred. Okay? That only comes out in a few individuals. That's only a few individuals feel that way because of the lifelong frustration. I'll get into this again later. But Elliot Rodger he was the most honest person there is. His whole lifetime was there to teach humanity. And he has given people numerous chances to intervene. But they just weren't picking up the clues, because his mannerism, like when he was talking to people, they were so meek that he fell under that radar. You gotta be a motherfucking loud asshole to be heard, That I find that very sad, the meek people, they fall so under the radar. It's like, nobody sees it. You're like, oh, that's boring. Let's move on to the loud motherfucker. Maybe that's more exciting. It's like, what about the message that's behind it? Like Elliot Rodger type of people have to, SP type of people have to be driven to that point of complete losing their minds. They are driven to that point by society. They're driven to it by the media, and particularly the corporations rubbing it in extra hard